and let us all do we can to build a better future.
And now we hear how the Biden-Harris administration are now set to build a new section of the Trump border wall. I know. Remember when the Biden-Harris administration, especially when they were running in 2020, that campaign, how they were saying they want to return the soul back to America and that they are not going to do anything to promote Trump. They want to get rid of the Trump disease. Well, turns out Joe Biden's administration they're going to abandon the president's campaign pledge against building any more barriers on the U.S.-Mexican border. And they get called out by none other than Representative Tulsi Gabbard, or former Representative Tulsi Gabbard. I think it's important we hear her words, so I want to play it in its full entirety. That's right. It's a Tulsi time.
I want to take you on a walk down memory lane here for a second. If you remember when President Biden first took office, one of the very first things he did was to stop all construction on the 200 plus miles of the border wall that President Trump had started constructing while he was in office. Well, now fast forward to where we are now, 3 years later after the Biden administration's disastrous open border policies, we have unprecedented numbers of people coming into our country illegally. Now, 3 years later, the Biden administration is claiming, hey, we have no choice but to waive 26 federal laws so that they can go and build 26 miles of the border wall in South Texas. This is such a joke. First of all, this is way too little, way too late. It's not going to do anything to stop this continuous flow of illegal immigrants flooding across our entire border. Now, second, let's be clear. This is not about a sudden desire to secure our border. This is about politics. We have Democrat leaders in cities like New York and in LA who are complaining now to President Biden, and his poll numbers are dropping. So this action, this decision is simply political theater by the Biden-Harris administration trying to fool us, trying to fool the American people into thinking that after years of them denying that there's even a problem at the border, saying over and over, President Biden saying, I will never build a wall on the border. With him, Kamala Harris, Secretary Mayorkas, all of them repeating over and over to Congress and to the American people, the border is secure. Now, all of a sudden, they want us to believe, well, it's actually not secure, which we know is true. And now, all of a sudden, they are committed to securing our border. Give me a break. We, the American people, are not that stupid, and we're not buying what they're selling.
All right. Shout out to Tulsi. Hey, she's speaking the truth. So let's actually go back in time. Just only 10 seconds of the senile old goat himself. Remember when Joe Biden said the border wall doesn't work? Because he's building it now.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No. Okay.
So the old dog is now abandoning his pledge. And this is an article from RT, just to trigger the libs. Joe Biden's administration has abandoned the president's campaign pledge against building any more barriers on the U.S.-Mexican border, saying it will construct a new section of the controversial wall started by predecessor Donald Trump. Don't tell anyone this, but that wall was being built long before Trump got into office. Heavens forbid, don't ask how those cages got there and what administration that happened. Obama's. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? No, I said something. I think I said Obama. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious cretaceous. Anyways, continue on. There is a presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads in the vicinity of the border of the United States in order to prevent unlawful entries into the United States in the project areas. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said on Wednesday in a public filing. The need is so acute, in fact, that the administration will waive dozens of federal laws and regulations to fast track the project, which will be built in Starr County, Texas. Oh no. Oh, no. And again, Biden's allies have long favored lax border policies, touting their communities as sanctuary cities. But with the crisis now hitting home as illegal aliens are bused to their areas, the mood has shifted. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, from my state, after all, said on Tuesday that the pace of migrant arrivals has created an unattainable situation. And it has. This is an epic disaster, and I have seen the police stations in which migrants are in front of the buildings. It's not good. To all those activists and SJWs, just remember, especially those in Chicago, it's not like I said, I told you so. It was more of a, hey, you think we're ready for this? Because I don't think we are. After all, Chicago is the most corrupt city in the country. We're number 2 once you add in Washington, D.C. But, exclude Washington, D.C., we're number 1. What makes you think any of these politicians in Chicago or even in the great state of Illinois give a damn about people in general? This whole talk of sanctuary cities was just a way to, what, make yourself look better against Trump? Now you can't follow through. All these people here, what are we going to do with them? They're here now. And I truly do feel sorry for all these migrants who are coming here. But all you politicians playing this back and forth game, you have been called out. And it's being made abundantly clear, Democrats, that you're the hypocrites and frauds that I've said that you are, especially on this show. And yet every time I brought this question up to a lot of people, oh, you don't understand. Oh, you're racist. No, this is a legit question in regards towards organization and structure and how to actually follow through and be consistent. And I sometimes get messages, oh, Kit, you're being too mean to activists and organizers. Well, a lot of them were talking a big game from 2016 to 2020. A little bit off topic, but I remember when all the pink pussy hat people were saying they'll be protesting in the streets day in, day out if anything ever happened to Roe v. Wade. Where are you? Hello? Hey, speaking of people who are shocked, AOC says on the border wall announcement, President must take responsibility and reverse course. Oh my goodness gracious, cretaceous. AOC released a statement Thursday condemning the Biden administration's decision to waive 26 federal laws, which will allow border wall construction to commence. Wow. And I thought he was exceeding expectations, AOC. The Biden administration was not required to expand construction of the border wall, and they certainly were not required to waive several environmental laws to expedite the building, the Congresswoman said in her statement. The president needs to take responsibility for decision and reverse course. For the love of Christ, AOC, are you ever done embarrassing yourself? Yeah, I really do regret any kind word I ever said about you. Anything ever. I take it back. I have to live with that L because you keep on making very stupid statements. I get embarrassed for you. The waivered environmental laws will expedite the construction of barriers in Starr County, Texas, which is highly trafficked entry point along the southern U.S. border. The Department of Homeland Security noted the Associated Press reported that roughly 245,000 migrants have illegally crossed the border there this fiscal year. In a press conference Thursday, Biden defended the plans to add to the wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. He insisted that he tried to get the funds reappropriated, but there was nothing he could do to stop it. He couldn't do anything. The hands are clean. He couldn't do anything to stop it. Let's see. And again, the Biden administration held firm in its stance that building a wall along the border is not the answer. Jesus Christ. Hey, vote blue no matter who. Remember all that hype and propaganda y'all bastards were saying in 2020? Eat some more crow, why don't you? A wall does nothing to deter people who are fleeing poverty and violence from coming to the United States. AOC said in a statement, walls only serve to push migrants into more remote areas, increasing their chances of death. It's a cruel policy. AOC, you want to know why there's a migrant crisis? Because, again, U.S. foreign policy, the war on drugs, regime change wars, coups, sanctions. I don't know, AOC, you are a congresswoman. Don't play stupid here. You know what's going on. The New York Congresswoman said the country needs to reevaluate the route of migration and how policy affects Latin America. She said the country has to finally invest in meaningful immigration reform. AOC does nothing but word salad at this point. God, man. It's so pathetic. Anyone ever took her seriously? Hey, look, here's something from CNN of all things.
President Biden is building the wall, at least part of it. This is something he said he would not do. The Biden administration announced it will waive 26 federal laws to allow border wall construction in South Texas because of what they call an acute and immediate need. The plan is to construct up to 20 miles of new border barriers in Starr County. That's in the Rio Grande Valley area. Some 245,000 migrants have attempted to cross the border illegally in just that one sector since October of last year. On the entire border there, the number is closer to 3 million. Hundreds of migrants rushed past border control agents near El Paso yesterday. So when he was running for president, Biden made clear that he would not expand the border wall if elected.
Trump campaigned on build that wall. Are you willing to tear that wall down?
No, there will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration.
The president also said today that former presidents have said to him that they wish that they had built a wall. Do you recall President Obama ever saying that?
I can't think of a single one who said that. We need border security, but that's not the border security we need.
And on the day he took office, President Biden signed a proclamation stating that, quote, building a massive wall that spans the entire southern border is not a serious policy solution. That we should know today's action does not do that. It's a 20-mile section. Nevertheless, it is very different than what President Biden campaigned on. CNN's
Yeah, that says a lot. Nothing but zero follow through. Zero follow through with anything. But hold on, more from our friends at CNN.
Well, they're saying they're doing it here because they have 2019 funds that were appropriated for this exact purpose, which was building additional border barriers, and that they're going to focus those funds on an area that has received a lot of traffic of migrants. Now, according to the numbers and federal data, this area, the Rio Grande Valley sector, which covers South Texas, has seen nearly 300,000 encounters between last October and this August. So clearly an area of concern for administration officials as they look to set up this border barrier. Now, in last month, the Customs and Border Protection had announced and sought public input from the community as they were looking at doing this. And this would be up to 20 miles of border barrier and would include a number of fixtures, for example, lights, cameras, and gates, as well as access roads. But to do it and to do it in an expedited manner, they're waiving certain laws. That includes the Clean Air Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, as well as the Endangered Species Act. Now, they are sure to come under criticism by Democrats for making this move. In fact, Texas Representative Henry Cuellar said that they shouldn't be taking a 14th century solution to a 21st century problem. And the officials, when you talk to them, say when they see border security and they talk about border barriers, they would want to focus instead on border technology. The funds have been appropriated for these physical barriers. But look, the White House is acutely aware that this is an area of concern for them. There has been an uptick in border crossings. They are facing criticism from cities across the country, including from Democratic allies. And so this is an area they're going to focus on for this wall. We should also note that Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and Attorney General Garland are all in Mexico this week for annual security talks. And you know that migration is going to come up in those talks. Democrats, you're showing your utter hypocrisy. So there's actually going to be some more follow-up with this because, again, let's look at what's happening in regards to when the press secretary is confronted with the Biden-Harris administration's 180.
The border wall is ineffective. Why is the Homeland Security Secretary saying that it's necessary to prevent unlawful entries into the United States?
I have not seen that full statement. I know. I hear you. I'm just saying I've not seen his full statement on that. What I can speak to is for the president. The president's been very clear that he doesn't believe it's effective. He answered that question of your colleague. That's what I can speak to. That's what we're going to talk about. And we've actually said there are smarter ways and more effective ways in dealing with this.
One other incident as well. So let's actually talk about what's happening here in Chicago, of all places, my city. Because Chicagoans are upset with this entire 180 with the entire migrant crisis here. And there's been a massive pushback, especially in the South and West Side communities here in the city of Chicago, in which, again, more migrants are being sent to sanctuary cities.
Crisis unfolding in Chicago.
We have a hard no for immigrants coming here. A very hard no.
We come in a community of Black people where we already get the low scraps. And then you want to take the little scrap, the resources that we have, and put us at the bottom of the barrel? That's not fair.
Again, there's going to be a convention here in Chicago playing this video here.
You cannot keep bringing immigrants in. The city does not have the money.
You cannot track them. You ain't tracking them good at the police station. You don't know their name, but you want to spread them all over the city. It is unsanitary, it's unsafe, and it's just not right.
I'm pulling up this video here as well. The DNC convention will be coming here in Chicago in 2024. It's not good.
Right? They're illegal. Right now, Brandon Johnson and the Democrats are criminals. You're locking up guys from smuggling drugs and trafficking people across the thing. The drag government's doing it right now. Right. We're going to sue the bosses. We're going to sue the Democrats as civilians because they're supposed to be agents representing the people they voted for. They're agents. I'm a sports agent. If I don't have represent my clients, they fire me. It's time to fire. Don't let the Democrats have that stupid convention here next year. Enough's enough. All I see, right, is the citizens of Chicago marching to the gas chamber. Ever since these scumbags came across the border.
On top of that as well, not only in front of police stations, but it's even here at our airports as well. You can't hide it. And it's becoming a site in which many Chicagoans, but it's also happening in many sanctuary cities that are causing people to question what the overall plan is. And the Democrats have nothing.
Sort of Oz, could you tell us what's...
How are you? You popped up out of nowhere, didn't you?
So how many migrants are currently here at the airport?
No comment.
And why do you, and they're sleeping on the floor. Do you think that Governor Pritzker should perhaps put them in his,
William,
do you think Governor Pritzker should perhaps put the migrants in his hotels?
Oh, now you're spitting. Okay.
Well, Governor Pritzker has written a letter to Joe Biden asking for more funding. At first, we thought that perhaps he was asking for Joe Biden to close the border, but no. Once again, Governor Pritzker, who does have ambitions for 2024, as you well know, the Democrat National Convention will be in Chicago. And he's gearing up for that. He wants more money.
Well, they're going to have to figure out where to put the migrants before that.
I have a sinking suspicion, especially here in Chicago, since the convention will be here in 2024, that either the migrants are sent to the outlying cities outside Chicago or they are completely removed from the country altogether. You see, the Democrats did this because they wanted to make themselves look better against Trump. They wanted to earn sympathy points from a lot of bleeding hearts. But the thing is, it's one thing to care about people. It's another thing altogether if you could provide for them safety and security. And none of these sanctuary cities, New York City, LA, cities that are predominantly Democrat, controlled by corporate Democrats, they were not prepared. And so when the Biden-Harris administration does a 180 and starts reconstructing the wall that was happening even before Trump got into office, that's right. Don't ask where those cages got from before Trump got into office. It's quite clear that the Democrats never believed in sanctuary cities or majority of the BS that they always said. It's pretty sad and pathetic. I would expect more from these politicians, but at this point, what's there to expect except more lies? So vote blue no matter who. What kind of propaganda are you going to use this time around? And how exactly are you going to make the DNC convention look presentable? Presentable. Especially when so many Chicagoans here are angry. You know, what many don't understand here, especially here in Chicago, is that we are a hyper-segregated city. and many Southwest Side neighborhoods are facing gentrification, and it's still ongoing. People are still being displaced, and there's a lack of resources for communities and families that have been living here for generations. This migrant crisis is adding more fuel to a powder keg that's going to explode violently. We will be covering the DNC convention, but we have to call out the Democrats for the hypocrites that they are. This is only the beginning, and I fear that it's going to get far, far worse.